Hey there, welcome to Unimaginable Futures, Class 10. Um, this week, we're going to dive more and do a deep dive into synthetic energies. I touched on them just a little bit, and I want to go deeper this week on everything. So let's take a look at all of that. So, what we know thus far is that just from what we've talked about, is that synthetic energies, there's synthetic energies versus authentic energies. And synthetic energies are kind of where interference lives. We see synthetic energies and how they develop AI, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, it's kind of a simulation. Sounds a little crazy, but a simulation. And for some reason, the top of my hair is doing weird stuff. Um, it's just kind of like a simulation of something. So you get the energy of a simulation of, like, say there's a cartoon character that's like me talking on the screen for this, versus somebody authentic who would be me. I'm me, an infinite being in this body, because we're all infinite beings in our body. And the thing that I want to remind you about any interference that comes in energetically to our lives, our livings, our bodies, etc., our beings, is that those energies will not ever have the capacity of an infinite being, which is what we are. We're an infinite being in this body, using this body in this reality. So you get the difference of the authentic energy, the infinite being energy, versus the synthetic energy and interference energy. Anything that's kind of interfering with what we're doing or just watching and just kind of trying to infiltrate different things. So synthetic energy, the way that it shows up is like, I look at data streams, I look at time streams, I look at memories that come in just out of the blue that it's like, why am I thinking about that right here, right now? It doesn't have anything to do with anything. And when you tap into the energy of it, you'll kind of get that it's like a tinny type of energy. It's like a kind of energy. It's a little cold kind of energy. So this is what I want you to play with this week. One of the things I want you to play with this week is when you start to tap into that energy that's synthetic. And then let's go through the whole data stream of whatever that synthetic energy is back to its source, if you can. Now, this takes a little bit of practice. You might not get anything at first, so don't be hard on yourself. What I want you to do is just keep on expanding and expanding your awareness so that when these energies come in, you just quickly oust them out and you're on your authentic merry way. Because the more we can stay in our authentic energy, the less all the weird stuff that happens out in the world or people kind of hanging around us will affect us. And again, kind of like I went into a little bit last week, is the more that you can stay in your authentic power. So for that, let's do a little exercise this week. Just get the energy of your house or wherever you live. You live in a house or a condo or apartment or whatever. Get the energy of where you live and say, I own this house. Energetically, like from a power space, I own this house. This is my house. I own this space. I own this house. From there, let's expand out to your neighborhood. Get the energy of that. And again, from a power space, kind of from your solar plexus and just from your infinite beingness, authentic infinite beingness, I own this neighborhood. And if we expand it, so this is kind of like doing it from a power space with the expansion exercise. We're doing just a tiny bit different. And then just get your city. Like, I own this city. own this city. Get the power of that. That's authentic power. So, and you can go out as far as you want, but for me, like, sometimes I'll have people in and out of my house and in and out of my office. Um, and I own this space energetically. What does that mean? That means anybody that comes in my space is going to be in my energy and not vice versa. And whenever my energy is a little off or I seem to be going sideways, sometimes it could be that I haven't stayed in that power space. I haven't truly owned my space. And that's when those interference energies can come in and it's just really a muscle that you have to keep working because we're not taught this. We kind of end up like naturally deferring to other people's energy because we come out of our mother's womb and immediately we're looking outside of ourselves for a frame of reference. And probably for most of us, it was a what the kind of frame of reference. Because how did we come in as an infinite being? We didn't come in with fear. We didn't come in with blame. We didn't come in with shame. We didn't come in with anger. Although, if we got smacked on the butt, we might be a little bit angry about that at first, just kind of shocked at first, like, what the? There were probably a lot of what those as we came into this reality, because from my awareness is we were told a lot of things and made a lot of promises that haven't necessarily been fulfilled for us in this reality. And that's why people are kind of looking around and like, my life is not anything like what anybody told me it would be. I have, and we've kind of gone over that before, but just like I was told that if I went to school and got that piece of paper and then worked really hard and, did that and decided what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I could go find a company to work for. And that's kind of how it used to be, coming from the industrial age to, that, I don't know what to call that other age. Like the industrial age, it kind of went into the, we're kind of in the AI age right now. We're kind of in the Jetsons age right now. It's funny, my brain doesn't have a frame of reference for that. I've done so much clearing today too, so excuse me if I'm a little loopy. Sometimes I do so much clearing on a day and I've done a lot of sessions with people today and my brain kind of gets a little empty. So that's actually good for you because I'm going to go straight into what we. So stepping more into your authentic power, really standing in it, playing with standing in it. And then playing with standing in it as in owning the energy around you, and then planning and staying in it as in the energies you would like your life to be. Once you state your power and really truly own the space you're in, then you can start playing with those energies. And it's very expansive, and you're not starting from a really small place. So we're coming at it from an authentic power space, and the authentic power, like truly owning that, the more you play with that, that's going to thwart a lot of those synthetic energies that are out there. And anywhere where you're catching those energies as we go along and you're like, nope, out, like whatever this is. I also was playing this weekend with interesting point of view. I have that point of view. That's actually an access consciousness tool. Interesting point of view that I have this point of view. And then I say, interesting point of view that someone else has this point of view, or you could put their name in if you're dealing with them directly. Or what we tend to do in this reality, rather than holding that power space, is looking at what's wrong, looking at what does not work, looking at the gap in between where we are and where we would like to be. So rather than just ousting energies that aren't a contribution out for us. And so let's just play with really standing in our power. We talked a tiny bit about this last week, but, and then I was kind of going into interesting point of view. I have this point of view. This is a really cool way to use this tool. If you use this tool really for 6 months and beyond, your whole life would be completely different. Your whole life would change. Because if you didn't have a point of view about anything, and really that's kind of where we've said all along that things can sick us, is one, we have a point of view about how it's going to show up, or a point of view about it in general, or we're in polarity of it. We're aligning and agreeing with, resisting or reacting to, defending for, defending against, righteous for, righteous against. So if we totally stay out of that space, and we're really just in the space of us, and that's really what the interesting point of view tool does. It opens up the space of us, more and more of the space of us, because we're not spending our time on this isn't working, which is a point of view. We're not spending our time on I'm wrong, which is a point of view. We're not spending our time on if my husband or my wife would just do this, my life would be fine, because that's a point of view. And then also we're kind of receiving, as energy beings, we're receiving judgment and just calculations, computations, projections, expectations from others. We're picking up on that energy. So if you go on, especially today, I went on Facebook for a little while and I just had to get the heck off of there, because people were judging people, buying up stuff at the grocery store. People were judging people on both sides, that they believed in the virus that's out, that they didn't believe in the virus that's out, that, basically at the end of the day, it sounded like everybody was wrong, and that's where I had to get out of there. But what if I don't have a point of view about it? So interesting point of view, they have that point of view. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. That's where you can kind of tap into the energies that could be stopping you in a certain thing. Like if you even just tap into how people do business out there, there are so many you musts out there with business, because my other business is marketing, and I look at businesses and help them intuitively see possibilities. And the thing is, like, a lot of times they're standing right on it. They can't see it because their vision is this. Well, what happens when you own your space and then you don't have a point of view about anything? Does that multiply your level and layers of possibility? You get how that could expand everything? And so anything that's holding anything in place is 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10 is your point of view or your polarity, or you're letting someone else's point of view stick you. So, a little secret here, very slight change, but can be very insidious if you're not paying attention in your life. I was watching some stuff this weekend, and it was kind of going into like how when we go to the why, or we have a point of view that we're not really, we just think, oh, we don't necessarily have a point of view, but we tend to go into a tiny little bit of a reaction when something might happen. So I'm just going to share a story. And I have a neighbor and her husband who just don't seem that conscious. Okay, so that's the slight version of it. That's the genericized version of it. There's a lot of other stuff to that, but when you're looking at, anyway, I won't go to that sideways. I could keep getting sent sideways on that. So any unconsciousness, anti-consciousness, energy, fog, manipulation, warning keys, commands, stack swingers, or any other like energies up there, clear. So this particular neighbor or her husband seem to like to walk their giant dog over to my lawn every day. Well, I have 2 big dogs. One of them who really goes berserko when he sees the dog. and I think they have like currently about 3 dogs, but normally they're walking each one separately. So they might come out and walk one for about a half an hour, and then they come out and walk another. But they're always seem to be coming on my lawn. And not only that, like they're not only are they a little bit unconscious, or maybe a lot of bit unconscious and not paying attention to begin with, but they're usually on their cell phone talking. So their dog's off wherever, they're on their cell phone talking. My dog's going berserk, and I've started to pull him downstairs, but he can still sense, like he's a shepherd, so he's got that sense of other dogs. So he could go berserk, go down here. I'm trying to reframe that with him and playing him with those energies, and most of the time he's usually pretty good. But because they do it every single day, and it's kind of like initially I would go to, why would somebody choose to do that? Like, why would somebody choose to do that? Then I look at it as like, I just put it off as these people are stupid, which that's an aside. I digress. And not really paying attention. But I went, oh, because I'm resisting and reacting to them being on my lawn, I'm defending for my dog. I'm being a little righteous because they're not paying attention and their dog's doing all of it. So all those things. And you'll notice here, it didn't matter which side I was on. Defending for, defending against, or righteous for, righteous against, or aligning and agreeing, or resisting and reacting. It doesn't matter which side of polarity you're on. You're always going to get stuck with it in your body. Always going to get stuck with it in your body. And the other part of that is when you go to the like, why would you go to the why? You will also get stuck. That I didn't have as great of awareness about. And I would be just like, why would somebody choose that? Like, you go and you stand in somebody's yard. I get that you're going to walk your dog. I walk my dogs. I get that, that your dog wants to be outside, all those things. Like, and so I had to do a lot of interesting point of view. I have that point of view, interesting point of view. They have that point of view, interesting point of view, that something else has this point of view. Because when people are unconscious, a lot of times interference energy can be coming through them. They're not awake enough to really know that this stuff is coming through them. So that's where you have the, what the, things with people where you're like, why in the world would they have said that? Or why in the world would they have done that? And then you go to the why of it, which sticks you anyway, because it's so bizarre. And that's where interference can really throw you off, with the bizarre and the weird. And the way that the way that you can tell it is that it has a certain energy that doesn't match up with your infinite energy, your infinite energy, your infinite being energy. They will never match the energy of the infinite being. They will never have the power of the infinite being. They will never be able to, I guess people have been talking about up level lately. They will never be able to up level to where we are because they simply don't have the capacities. Somebody could build a robot to do what we do, but does it have all the capacities that we do? And we've already kind of said that they're building a lot of AI today that is supposed to do these advanced things that our body naturally already does. So would you like to just receive the infinite beingness of you right here, right now, and anything that doesn't allow that, incinerate. And then anywhere you can catch that synthetic energy coming in, and it's usually like a weird, because I look at these people and I'm like, like I'm very conscientious about my neighbors and my neighbors' yards, etc., and bringing bags and making sure that I pick up after my dogs and that I'm not being intrusive on anybody's property. And so, I've lived here a long time, and I usually I'm very good about that. I just don't, yeah, and I would go to the why. So just interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And you could say that as many times as you need to, just to dissipate the energy. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, they have this point of view. And an interesting point of view, what I added on was interesting point of view that something else has this point of view. What could that something else be? It could be alien energy. It could be just, I generally call it interference frequencies. Interference frequencies. When I asked the interesting, when I said interesting point of view, that something else has this point of view, there was a huge read on it for these people. And I was like, oh, I wasn't looking at that. And then I was going to the why, which was then sticking me. And I would consistently go into reaction where I'm not usually a reactionary person about most things. So throw out the why, it will stick you. Go to interesting point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, they have this point of view. Or if it's somebody that you know, and they're going on and on about something, and it's like, rather than just making them wrong, which will, what is that? That's polarity. Defending for or against, pushing for or against. Doesn't matter what side you're on. Let me say that another 100 times. Doesn't matter what side you're on. Still a point of view. Still gonna stick you. Still gonna stick you. Because the why is kind of coming from a point of view in a way, but I had missed that all this time, and I was still kind of going into reaction, and I just thought, now I got to wait for these people because their dog is really old and it's sitting there, and I can't take my dogs out. And then I thought, once I did that interesting point of view tool for me, for them, and I did it several times. I just said it several times. It created this space in me that said, why can't I take my dogs out there while they're out there? This is my yard. In a fun way, And I was like, man, and if the dogs get in a tangle, oh well, my yard. So I got my dogs. They were excited. We took them out. It kind of like threw the people for a loop. I think the lady was just out there by herself, and then she called her husband because, of course, she was on her cell phone. And I just kind of like walked really close enough for my dog to bark at that dog and that dog to bark at my dog. And then I gave because I've been working on and I've had a trainer with my dog, but I also wanted to use it as a learning time for my dog, which was very much a contribution. And then we kind of headed around towards their yard and hung out there for a little while, which is kind of what they do. And then I kind of edged my way up, and the husband went and got the wife, because, I'm walking two big dogs and they have two for one, apparently. And it's an interesting point of view. I had that point of view or awareness. But so they started coming back, and then my dog started barking again, and I corrected him, and he was fine. And we walked on by, and I said, see, nothing to bark about. So I was able to use it for a teaching moment when I wasn't in reaction, and it wasn't sticking in me and my being and my body. So I was actually kind of having fun with it. So where could you have just fun with everything? Especially right now when people are going a little berserko with all this stuff going on. You could probably say that in general, just about any time, but where could you have fun with just about anything? Where do we go to? It's gotta, like, there's something wrong. I've got to fix it. There's a gap between where I am and where I need to be. And therefore I need to look outside. I need to look outside for something, for a sign, for anything. And that's where I work with people the most. It's like, I'm not here to do all the work for you. I'm here to give you the tools so that you can be aware. And you can expand your life from your awareness, and you can use these tools for yourself. It can create such a large amount of space that it's endless possibilities. Because I'm not you and you're not me, and you have a whole other set of possibilities. I've got a whole set of possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities we could share in too, but there's like each unique brilliance of the individual has so many different things going on. So I'm putting you in the driver's seat with these tools to really be able to be aware, choose, not go into polarity, not go into point of view, just simply stay in that space of possibility. And then what steps could you take to have certain things come to fruition out of it? It's not that we just, yeah, some of it is aligning with the energies, and letting it go. But the other part of it is like, there are things to do here. I'm not here to tell you that, sorry. I know like lots of new age stuff when I was like heavily into all the new age stuff, and it's like, oh, just go in the corner and meditate, and this will come. Well, there is a certain aligning and congruence of lining up with the energies you would like your life to be, but there's also like, what action can I take today that would create blank? What action could I take that could create blank for me today, or more money than I've ever made, or whatever that is for you, the greatest number of opportunities that I could never fathom. Like, what questions can you ask once you get yourself in that space of possibility? So let's go over this again. We've got where we're taking ourselves, we're standing in our authentic power. We're taking ourselves out of point of view and polarity. We're becoming more aware of our authentic energy and what would be synthetic energy, AI type energy. There's AI that's good, that helps us, that assists us, that's a contribution to us. There's also AI that not so great, like could be interference. And then there's synthetic energy that is used by just different different modes of interference to us that tends to stop us, or we get stuck with things in our body because we're in polarity or point of view, or we go like, why blank, why in the world would I call it the Nancy Kerrigan why, if that's probably dating me, but if you could remember Nancy Kerrigan, like, she was all I remember about her was like, she was just really whiny when she got stabbed in the leg. First of all, like, I could go to the why in the world would somebody do that to somebody, but hey, don't want to go there. That part is like, what else is possible from this space? What else is possible from this space? What else is possible from this space? What is that space? Owning your power. That's the space. Not having polarity. That's the space. Not having a point of view. Not going to the why. That's the space. Okay? So we're starting there. Owning our power. And then we can, and then usually if there's something up that seems to not be changing, it's usually based on a point of view, like I said, and that's, it's not usually yours, or there could be a program involved. Now, tonight we're going to be going more into, like, there could be a program involved, because if there's synthetic energy and there's AI energy going on, there's a lot of times programs could be interference. So there could be some universal programming running in the background where we're like, probably like these people who walk their dog straight over to my lawn. I'm sure there's probably a little bit of programming going on there, where they're not like, what do they say, the lights are on but nobody's home, like that type of thing. And so there could be, what I found is when things aren't changing or something, energy stays heavy, that's where these could be. And you could just simply say, is there a program up here? So let's go through a clearing of that. And this is via Jaden Fox, who is absolutely brilliant, and who I work with. So this is from his materials. I just want to give him credit for that here. But it has been amazingly wonderful tool for me to play with, and that's why I'm sharing it here, because if there's a program up, it's just like a computer program you set for your computer to do certain something. If there's a program up, then like what you're going to run into is like a weird synthetic wall in a way. It'll feel like that. It'll probably literally feel like that. And you're going and you're going and you're going, and you just either seem to go sideways, then you start to ask questions and become more aware of things, and then clear things out of your way. And then you're walking forward, and it's like, but man, this thing is not changing. So let's go through that exercise here. So let's pick something. Say you have a money issue, and it just seems like weird stuff will, you'll clear it and then weird stuff will come in. What is that weird stuff? Synthetic energy. Does it have any power over you? No. Who's the most powerful thing? You. Will it ever be as powerful as you? No. But to me, it's like I was describing it earlier to somebody, it's like a projector that has the tiny little pictures on the film, right? They got the projector, and then they're projecting it out as this big thing on a big screen, so it seems a lot larger than life and bigger than you. But is it? No. It's this tiny little thing of film that goes through. Not anything bigger than you. Can a piece of film be more powerful than you? Well, it does tell a story. There's a little bit of power in that, but it will never have the infinite being power that you have. Always remember that. You are the most powerful thing. I'll say it again. You are the most powerful thing. All these synthetic energies, all these different things that come in that stop us for just a moment, can't stop us forever. Why? Because we have that innate, infinite being power that surpasses all. Authentically. Authentically. Your authentic local energy surpasses all. Your infinite being energy surpasses all. So if there's anything coming in that's trying to make you think that it's bigger than you, I've had them. I've had many of them over the years, and it's like, at the time, it just seems insurmountable, right? Could be a program, so let's ask. So what else? So let's just say there's a money issue going on, and we'll just do a clearing for that. So what are all the programs under and supporting lack of money here? And then just what you're doing is you're taking the time, you're taking the space to look at that energy, getting that energy. And then you say, I call out all the programs under and supporting lack of money here. And then what we're going to do is pull out all these energies. Once we kind of gather them, we kind of get them, we start to feel them. And you may not feel them at first, that's okay. Just throw them out, all out in front of you, from up above, down below, right, left, inside, outside, all the way around into the pile, and then and then we're going to kind of put like a glass dome over it so it stays where it is, because the little energies are kind of tricky. And so we're going to just say the following. All intercessions exterminate. And just repeat after me. All intercessions exterminate. All intercommunications exterminate. All interconnections exterminate. All programs terminate. And all programs exterminate. And then extract and claim all power sources to use them to your advantage. And then let's just incinerate all those energies. You can incinerate them before you see all that too. I'm just incinerate them at the end. Sometimes I do it before and after. And any energies remaining, just incinerate. I choose to destroy and create all that. Revoke, recant, rescind, renounce, destroy and create it all. Make null and void, body, let it go, let it go, let it go. Not you, not yours. Not you, not yours. And you could do this as often as you need to dissipate any weird energies that are showing up. I had to do this a lot in sessions today, just because of the virus that's kicked up in our world. So with that, with using this tool, you ask, is there a program up with us here? Because if there seems to be a thing that you're just kind of going bebop boobop over, being a robot over, and you're not sure why, and it's like, what is that? Where I can't tend to see that, I can't tend to go there. Chances are there's a program up and you can just ask. And normally you'll kind of get of energy, depending on how energy shows up for you. And you're just going to terminate it and move on. Why? Because you're an infinite being using this great, wonderful body in this reality, and you've got the power. That's why. So there's the other part that we were talking about earlier about the gap. We tend to get focused on the gap between what you desire and where you are. And if you go along with this reality's rules, there's always kind of going to be a gap. Like you've got here, and this is a lot where you can go to a causal reality. Causal reality is the if, then. If I win the lottery, then I'll go on vacation. If I get the job, then I'll be a nice person. Or if I get this house, then. There's so many of those in this reality. Just destroy and uncreate it all. Just destroy and uncreate any causal realities that I'm buying into. Because that is another trap that will stick you every time. There will always be the gap. And there's always going to be a little bit of that because there's always going to be what's next. But when you focus on the gap versus like what's next, you're always going to be in a gap. It's kind of like what you focus on expands. So when you're going, oh, I don't have the money. And that's where you're living your life from. I don't have the money. I don't have the money. And the universe hears, don't have the money. And what does the universe give you? Don't have the money. Let's give her more, don't have the money. And how much fun is that? I think we've all been there in different parts of our life. How much fun is that? Don't have the money. Okay, we're going to give her more, don't have the money. So what if you flip that? I watched, and I sent a little email about this out recently. I watched the Call of the Wild with Harrison Ford, and there's one point in the movie where he, like everybody around him is like fighting and killing people and beating them up and all this stuff for gold. Not treating people well, and they're not treating themselves well, and they're just in this frenzy. We don't know anything about that right now. And so he finds this area with his dog that there's gold everywhere. And he says that there's gold everywhere. And they start like, the dog gets some and he gets some, and they're just playing with it. And he kind of says, oh, I don't need all of this. I can throw some of it back for somebody else. Because why? There's gold everywhere. So play with that. There's gold everywhere. Just receive that in your body. There's gold everywhere. Just receive. We don't always know where that gold is. And we could be searching for it, but if he had been focused on the gap of what he didn't have, because at that time he had given a lot away. I think his child had died. He had kind of left his wife. They had they had divorced or whatever. He kind of gave her pretty much everything. And he was just kind of living out there. I forgot why he was going to that territory. He was actually looking for something else and kind of stumbled upon the gold because he was really just in the moment with the dog. Like the dog was really kind of showing him love, unconditional love and companionship and just like play and fun that he hadn't had because he had been in that space of losing a child, which I couldn't imagine, but he had blinders on. I've said that before. You can have blinders on to where you are. I see this in businesses all the time that I talk to. They have blinders on. And it's like, what is the low hanging fruit that could be right there for you to pick? You could ask that question. What's the low hanging fruit that is right there for me to pick? And see what shows up. Right? So, get out of the gap. There's always going to be that gap. There's always going to be a striving for something different. You're always going to be looking at a different destination, but that doesn't mean that you can't be in the energy of the ride, right? That's where creation happens, the energy of the ride. And it's almost like when you throw out that significance, kind of like he did. He was in a much lighter space. He was playing with the dog. I think the dog fell into the river and he went in there for him or something. And like, lo and behold, they looked down and there is all this gold. And he says that many times, like, it's everywhere. There's gold everywhere. There's gold everywhere. So where's the gold that you might have right there for you that you're not seeing because you're focusing on the gap? So throw out that gap. It's not that it's not there. It's just that don't focus on it. That's what will expand. It'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh, she's saying she's focusing on the gap. Let's give her more gap. Okay, cool. Then you'll get further and further away from what you actually want. So let's just do a little asking of questions and then just clearing up around this, okay? So let's ask the question, anywhere I am more committed to the gap between what I desire and what or where I am, that's all right. And then do this as many times as it takes to shift those energies. Anywhere that I'm focusing, committed to the gap between what I desire and what or where I am. That's all right. And any auto install, auto reinstall, bind, double binds, triple binds, golden trillion year agreements, allegiances, alliances, orders, codicils, lineage, or any like agreements across all lifetimes, past, present, future, space, time, dimension, multiverse, universe, or any space, time I haven't mentioned here. Incinerate. Isn't that kind of cool how you can energetically incinerate anything? Or you can like take it down to less than zero. Anything in the way of me being 1,000% fully right here, right now, my body and being, open communion, incinerate. So that opened up some space. What percentage am I embodying my body? Remember, we're an infinite being using this body in this lifetime. Sometimes we can be more out of body than in body. Again, that's where, like Alzheimer's, they must stay out of the body. So you got to call them back in to decide whether they want to stay or go. So how much are you, what percentage are you embodying your body? Is that 25%? Less than 50%? Less than 100%? Or another number? Anywhere I'm not willing to embody my body to 1,000%, I like to say 1,000%. That body can't quite grab it, incinerate. Now that we've opened up this space, body, what do you desire today? Let's receive. And then body, what do you know about, could be money, could be time, could be cash. I like to kind of use cash instead of money. Money has a weird energy on it, but that's the word I have here. Body, what do you know about whatever the subject is? Time, relationships, etc., business, employment, which receive. Because our body is so dang smart. Our body is a lot of times much smarter than we are. But so ask your body, have that relationship with your body without a point of view about what energies it shows you, what information it provides for you. What if you didn't have a point of view about that? You know, I run into a lot of the people that say, you know, I can only eat yogurt and this, and I can't eat this, and I can't eat that, blah, blah, blah. Does that really tap in? And they've probably had some different, and I'm not discounting anybody who's had these type of ailments. Like I've had different ones at different times. But what I get is every day is a new day. Every day is a new space. What could you choose to kind of partner with your body in that day? And when we start asking our body these questions, it'll start showing you things that can be at first seem quite bizarre. Like I've had times where it's kind of like, I mean, there have been some days my body just wants to eat ice cream. Other days, I want to go get fried chicken and just eat the skin off the chicken, which may sound gross for some of you, but like the crunchy, fatty, and that's because like at that point in time, it's usually in the winter when I don't have as much vitamin D, and that kind of gives me the inkling that, hey, I need to like take some vitamin D. I don't want to eat all this fatty stuff. And where do we have a point of view that fatty stuff is bad? Where do we have a point of view that bread is bad? Where do we have a point of view that eggs are bad? Where do we have a point of view that any food is bad? We simply asked our body in that moment. I actually had somebody that came to one of my energy healing classes, and I usually tap into the energy for the food that I buy for it. And I got like bags of M&Ms and potato chips, and it was like all this junk food. And usually, you know, I'll kind of balance it out with salad or whatever, and I just didn't do it that time. It was like all this really like junky type food, and I thought, wow, this is really interesting. But hey, I had tapped into the energy of the class, tapped into the energy of the people that were coming, and that's what showed up. Well, and it ended up, I think she was the only one in the class for that particular class, which I also don't know the point of view about. I've been in classes of non-embed classes, so much more than that. She came, and as soon as she walked in the door, she was going on and on about like that she could only eat this and she could only eat that. And there were all these reasons around her having and like all I felt was this constriction of the body because she wasn't really listening to her body. She was in points of view. I can't eat this and I can't eat that and I can't have sugar and I can't do that. You know? And sugar can do things to your body. I actually went through like getting rid of sugar, and then I realized like there's part of your brain needs sugar. Your brain needs a certain amount of sugar. Then I kind of went to the other side of that, and it's like, well, you know, I'm doing all this energy healing, and this, you know, you need sugar, and listening to your body, and I like what I realized is because I wanted to eat the junk food, and I didn't want to. I wasn't necessarily listening to my body. I was kind of bitch slapping it in a sense. Going, oh, well, you know, I'm an energy healer. I can just transmute this. But there's certain things that your body just desires and requires. And the reason why it's desiring and requiring that, like kind of like the fatty chicken skins or the, you know, sugar or whatever else, is like your body requires it. Also gone through parts where like I was just addicted to avocados. I couldn't get enough avocado. I think if you ask me today, right here, right now, my body would be like, nah, no thanks. But at that point in time, I just needed those certain nutrients. There's reasons why you're needing those certain nutrients. And I think in the case of that girl, and I didn't have any point of view about it or judgment about it, it was just kind of like, is that she had restricted her body so much. It's kind of like telling a kid they can't have any sugar ever, but then you keep like parading them in front of a table full of cakes, or they're going to eventually just like run towards whatever you're telling it that they can't have. And that can sometimes happen when we're starting to play with this and listening to our body. So just ask your body questions, be in communion with your body, be in congruence with your body. Treat your body well, because you're just using it right here, right now in this reality. You're not going to always be in this body. And not everybody has a body. Just say that. Like, that's a whole other conversation we could spend another hour on. Not everybody has a body. So treasure it. Treasure that body. There's gold everywhere in here. Our body does more amazing things in one day than, I just can't even wrap my head around it. And we're not meant to. That's where we have more magic that AI can actually produce. They'll never be at the level that we naturally are within this body, infinite being within this body. So receive that. You've got a big amount of power, but you've been made to think otherwise. Why? There's just, that could be a whole other class and this whole thing, but at the end of the day, just play with more of your power. Play with your sweet body. Ask it questions. It will give you so much information. So much information. And then don't stick it with the why, or don't stick it with point of view or polarity. That can be really, really sneaky, because I've done this for a long, long time, and little sneaky things keep showing up for me. So just also be, just be kind with yourself in this whole process. This is a lot to take on, so I just want to acknowledge you all who are here, who are diving into this journey, and who are willing to be more conscious than unconscious, because we're going to change the planet. We're going to change lives. How many lives can be saved with all this just because we're conscious? How many lives have to be saved because we're conscious? So I want you to ask a lot of questions of your body this week. Just ask. That's all you have to do. You're in this wonderful, like, if again, I think I said it before, like if you were in a relationship with somebody and you just neglected it, didn't listen to it, would it stick around? And how does that happen in our lives? Like, normally it shows up in the form of different diseases in your body. I think I saw more people like quickly pass away, and they were pretty young last year. A lot of people I was connected with, or connected to the people I am connected with. Like, a lot of people left the planet last year. Probably didn't want to be around for what's getting picked up now, but hey, who's here? The powerful, the many, the conscious, and we keep expanding our group, which is very exciting. So I just want to applaud you for choosing consciousness. I know sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable, or a lot of it uncomfortable, but the possibilities on the other side and what we're creating as a whole is amazing. It's amazing. The expansion of energy is amazing. So just keep going. And again, you can always reach out to me, and I or my team will get back to you. So let's just, as we're kind of getting to the end of this hour, let's just play with the expansion exercise, which hopefully you've been playing with every day. Let's expand to bigger than the planet as it actually is. And this is another way you can see if there's any energies that aren't yours up there, because if you're not able to expand all the way out, just ask anything. And anything that doesn't allow this out. And expand to bigger than the solar system. Expand to bigger than the universe. multiverse. Within the beyond-verse. Expand bigger than infinite realms. Connecting to your infinite being. There's a real sweet energy there, isn't there? Yeah, and then connecting to the infinite symbiotic being. That actually is. What that means. And anything that doesn't matter is out. And so keep going and keep going with all of this. What else is possible now? What else is possible now? And what else is possible now? I like to kind of say that after each one of these big clearings, like, what else is possible now? So let's just do a quick synopsis of what we've talked about. You are the most important thing. There's nothing that will ever have the power that you have. If you would like to have more of you in your space, claim and own it. I own this space. I own this house. I own this neighborhood. As far out as feels comfortable for you. Because I know we're just starting to play with all of this. Just own that space. And the chances are, the more you own the space within your body, the infinite beingness within your body, less of that synthetic energy, less of that interference, less of that stop will start showing up, and they'll be like, oh, she's too powerful, we're not going to mess with her. Or he's too powerful, we're not going to mess with her. And just receive that. Just receive that. Pretty cool. And then if stuff isn't really shifting, like, don't make yourself wrong over it. We can have a tendency to make ourselves wrong because we're very aware and we're picking up all the energies around. Oh, and there's one other thing, because somebody in the class had asked us about nighttime. Like, a lot of times in nighttime we can be, that's when they try to send energies in. Just know that all of it's BS. Announced it out. We didn't come in, we weren't born with fear, rage, hate, blame, shame, regret, guilt, all those. We weren't born that way. We weren't born with that energy. Don't take it on. So I just, even when I'm sleeping, like, I kind of naturally just incinerate whatever is not me. Hey, this is not me. Or if you have the time, you can kind of follow that stream and see the where it starts, and then just oust it off. Trying to think of what else. So yeah, and then the things might be a little sticky and not changing. Look at, is there a program up here? And just to tell you, like, interference can come in the form of that. It can come through others. That's usually when it's like, what in the world, that was just weird, just it comes over as a weird energy. And if you weren't aware, like, you might just kind of pass it off as like, that's weird, whatever. But no, like, we don't come in as weird. Well, we might actually, I've been called weird. I can call myself weird, but we might be considered weird from other people because we're choosing things that most people don't choose. Consciousness, possibility, looking at the positive, looking at what is possible now versus like, oh, all the rules of I'm a certain age, or I can only, I'm working towards retirement. I don't know how many people have said, like, and I think most of them are with the same company, like, I know it's horrible, but if you have to say, I know it's horrible, but, like, run all these processes on the sheet this week, and then keep asking, what else is possible now? What else is possible now? What else is possible now? How does it get any better than this? What else is possible now? Like, call in those energies of possibility for you. Because if you listen to everything else, can you please turn off the news? And even if you have to turn off social media for a little while, like the energy that gets picked up with all that as you're choosing more and more awareness, you won't even really see those things. You'll just see what would be to your greatest authentic local advantage. And you can ask for that, like, hey, universe, just show me what's my greatest local advantage. What could be possible now? What could be possible now? What could be possible now? So, and if you have any questions with all of that, this should be like pretty empowering week and sheet to play with, because one, we're ousting some big stuff out. Two, we're looking at the interesting point of view tool. That's going to give you more, greater and greater awarenesses. It's also going to pick up on those big energies of interference, and you just oust them out. You don't have to be stopped by them. And the cool thing I love about it is it takes them out in big chunks. Really, really cool. You're looking at programs, if there's any programs. And yeah, like again, I was kind of going into like, what I realized with my neighbors is that they're just kind of programs. I call them programs because really at the end of the day, they're not conscious. And like, I could go to the why all day long about what they do with their dogs, etc. And is that going to change it? No, it's probably going to make it show up even greater because I'm having a little bit of reaction to it. Then it sticks in my body. Then it starts affecting my health. You see how the road that you go down with all of this? And so where can you unravel that? You can unravel it in your body and your being when you're not going to the why, not going to the point of view, not going to polarity, any and all of that. So what I'd like you to do for the next week or 6 months or a year, or however long you want to do it, depends on how open and spacious and possibility ridden you want your life to be. What it does is it opens up the space for your authentic creation, your authentic things that you're asking for to come in. And it's really put you in a cool space of awareness. Like the awareness I had just on, oh, I'm in resisting interacting with these people and asking why in the world would they do this, which stuck me. I don't want to stick me. I don't want you to stick you. Don't do it. Just don't do it. So play with that this week. I know we've kind of gone through a lot of different things. These are a little bit, more meaty here, but still play with it. Because it's at the end of the day, it's all just play. And again, there's gold everywhere. There's gold everywhere. You start from that space. It's just a beautiful space to be in. What else is possible from here? So that's this week's lesson. Big love to all of you. Enjoy this week's sheet. I think you're going to really like it. And reach out if you have any questions. Big love to all of you. And we'll see you next week. Thanks so much. I'm so excited that you're doing this class, and I just want to acknowledge you for it. Okay? See ya.